All right, today the topic is staying congruent with your goals when the goal that you're working on is way outside of the status quo. This has been a phenomenal week for this. So we're getting towards the end of the year. Right now, we're like midway through November. There's just a couple more weeks until the end of the year. And this is typically the time of year when we have certain conversations with ourselves. All right, like holidays aside, what am I doing with my physical fitness? What am I doing with my finances moving into the next calendar year? Right? That's normal for us. Okay, so whatever front it is, whether we're talking financial fitness, we're talking health and fitness, physical, you want to keep in mind that when you learn new information, okay, how do you then stay congruent with the pathway going towards that goal that sucks in that new information that may be different from what every other person is doing? Okay, so whether that means if you learn new information about how to fuel your metabolism, how do you get it running optimally without using any sort of like accessory drugs, if you will. Or if it's finance, how do you start to leverage your money so that maybe, whatever, you're acquiring passive income, maybe you're, running an e-commerce business, the things that are kind of on the forefront, but for the average individual, like it may be way outside of, their realm or the realm of experience. And it can be really disheartening if it's you that has that goal, which it's almost like, who do I even talk to about this? Because every single time I bring up this idea, I swear to God, it's just like people are assholes and they tell me every reason in the world why it doesn't work and why I can't do it. And they give me like this whole battery of things and they just kibosh. And by the time I'm finished, I either don't want to move forward with my goal or I don't want to talk to that person ever again, and I just want to like live inside of my house, and like lock myself away in like a little, like tiny little bubble. And that's not going to solve the problem either. So here's what I'm going to tell you. First and foremost, anytime you have a goal, or if you want to call this like giant thing of vision, and it is something that is not what everybody around you knows or believes or is even doing, I firmly believe that those are gifts which are given to you. I really do. And the reason is this. So you know me, like a few years back, what I did was I wanted to find a lot of truth, because coming from a family of entrepreneurs where we are always innovative and always thinking outside the box and always thinking 10 years into the future, coming from a nursing background where I worked at an academic research center, which is always innovative, always creative, always thinking, 10 years down the future, and is setting the benchmark for medical practice around the world, right? Becoming my own boss, same exact type of a thing. Like for me, it's pretty normal for my ideas to be like so far away that, sometimes people don't know what the F I'm talking about, but it's kind of become, like an everyday occurrence for me, but that may not be for you. So for me, I had to go and find out, is Nicole just like the total abnormal skew on the bell curve, or what the hell? So I went to the Bible, which is like a really great resource book, believe it or not. And this is what I learned. And we're going to fit this into like, what does this mean when your goal sits outside the bounds of normalcy? So if you want a lesson in this, I would tell you to go to the book of Nehemiah. All right. Nehemiah was a guy, here's the caption of it. He was a servant for some king. And I guess one night he had a dream and God came to him and said, Nehemiah, I want you to go build a wall, I don't know, in between whatever these two cities were. I forget the towns and the cities. So he wakes up. Now he's the servant for the king. And God told him in the dream, Nehemiah, you're supposed to go to the king and you're going to tell him, like, number one, you're going to quit your job, and that you're going to have to go build this wall. So as he's serving the king, I guess in those times, it was punishable, I think, by death if you as a servant didn't walk around like with a happy smile on your face all the time. And whatever this was, it was like weighing really hard on Nehemiah's heart, and the king noticed that Nehemiah wasn't totally happy. But instead of, executing him, the king took him inside and said, okay, Nehemiah, what's up with you? And so Nehemiah just like spills his guts, and he's just like, all right, so I have this dream. And basically in the dream, God told me that I have to leave and I have to go build this wall. And the king was like, okay. And Nehemiah was like, and you're supposed to give me the resources in which to do this. Like, I need some men to like accompany me on the journey. And the king was like, okay, right? So it was like a God-given dream. So Nehemiah leaves with, I don't know, some of the king's guys, and they go, excuse me, to this city, and they have to like do a lay of the land. So instead of having like a workers crew, Nehemiah was then supposed to recruit like the local townspeople to build this wall out of whatever, I don't know what they made, bricks out of straw or something like that. So he starts talking to the townspeople, hey, will you help me build this wall? And they're all like, yeah, we think that's a really great idea. So he starts recruiting these townspeople, and now the wall is going up. And apparently, whoever, I don't know who these other people were, just ankle biters, from like some kind of king on the other side of the wall was like, that's never gonna work. And Nehemiah's like, well, it is working, like, we're building the wall, there's evidence of it, like, there's the wall. And the people were just like, man, it'll never ever work. And now the wall's going up. So while he's building this, the wall's totally going up, right? Well, those little ankle biter guys go back to their king or whoever their ruler was, and they say, all right, well, there's this dude Nehemiah, and he is, building this wall. So the king of that land sends a scroll, and they didn't have like Wi-Fi, they didn't have envelopes in those days, and so what they did was they would write out their little letter and they would roll it up in a scroll, and they would hand deliver the scroll. And when it was rolled up like that, it was honor system that nobody was going to open it and read it, you would just deliver it. So what the king did, the king actually had bad intention. And so he was inviting Nehemiah to meet him, this other king, in some other place. But basically it was to kill him so that, the wall wouldn't go up. And so they deliver this scroll. Nehemiah looks at it and he's just like, yeah, well, can't do that because, I'm kind of busy like building this wall. So this happens a couple different times. And finally, those other guys go back to the other king, and they're like, he won't come because he's, building this stupid wall, and the king would send another scroll and blah, 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 all this stuff. So finally, one day, the king, instead of sending a rolled up scroll, like this is how they communicated in those days, just sent an open piece of paper so that everybody could see, like, you have to meet me. And he wanted him to go to some like remote place. He made a very enticing offer for him. It was like some luxury place, with, feathers and, like that whole like Middle Eastern thing. But the point was that they were actually going to kill Nehemiah. And so Nehemiah knew that something was up. And in his mind, he's doing what God told him to do, is build this wall. And he's getting all this flack while the wall's going up. And he gets this open scroll. And he was having like a lot of bad dreams about this and having a really, really bad time. And he started listening to his own intuition that even though the offer was to go to this place of luxury on, what was the other side, from the ankle biters, and it made logical sense. Ooh, it's like overcast now. The story is getting serious. That he listened to his intuition and followed what was that God dream, or God actually probably command in this situation, thing for him to actually follow. And he did that. All right. Now here's like the line behind the story is that had he dropped what he was doing, which was this idea, which was so beyond the scope of what everybody else around him was even doing, he would have abandoned that project and gone to this place which made sense, and it kind of like fit societal norms, and he would have been, placed in a very high power and being taken care of in a very royal way. He would have actually been executed. Now I know that is a very extreme case. They were dealing with a little bit different mannerisms in those days, but the point of the matter is this: there are going to be times when you receive a goal or a dream, and it's on you. Like sometimes it keeps you awake at nighttime. Sometimes, it just like makes your brain think, or sometimes it's just like this anvil on the head, like Kong. And this is what we call enlightenment. Okay, when people say, oh, I've been enlightened, it's because suddenly you're seeing things in a brand new way. And it's either because, something hits you upside the head, you have some sort of a huge, like, life-changing moment, or you've been exposed to new information that completely changes your whole outlook on everything, and you can't go back to how you were before because the information at hand and the pressing which is inside of you, like, you just can't do it. Like, retreat is no longer an option. So be advised and be encouraged that the greatest people throughout history have always gone through the same thing that you have, right? It's probably just worse now because there's more ways for people to come at you, whether it's social media or texting, and keep it into perspective that there's a lot of people who all they like to do is bitch and complain, and they're just like addicted to just like that. I mean, who needs to be around that? That when you're seated at a table with winners, whatever realm this is, you're working on health and fitness. If you were to sit with an 80-year-old bodybuilder and they are out there, they start building when they're in their 70s, they're competing in their 80s, like, they're not going to sit there and ever tell you that your goals are impossible. If you look at some of the people who are competing, that's one of the reasons why I love that community. There's people who have, virtually like no body limbs, who have found a way to train their body, and they're actually competing in bodybuilding competitions. When you sit with those individuals, they're not all the reasons why it won't work. They are, show me the one reason why it can work, and that's what I'm going to ride to make this dream come to reality. Same thing on the financial front, that when you are exposed to a new opportunity, or new education, new way of viewing something, and it is markedly different from what everybody else is doing, right? It's not all the reasons why it's not going to work. It's the same thing. It's show me the one reason why it will work, and I'm going to ride on that thing and take it as far as I can go because I see that opportunity. Okay, so it always starts with the vision, it starts with the dream, it starts with the goal, right? You acquire more information, and as you're going forward, you're conducting what's going to be due diligence. Is this safe for me? Is this making sense? Are other people doing it? I mean, if it is working for other people, okay, who are probably in way worse situations than you are, it will work for you. Okay, so the important thing is this. Number one, always have very firmly pressed upon your brain what it is that you're out to achieve, okay? And frame it in the positive sense. Instead of, I don't want to, do X, Y, Z, I want to blah, 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 followed by next step is put it in a present tense. I am, in a bodybuilding show. I am a multi-millionaire. I am whatever, in the I am form, right? And then simply follow the footsteps of individuals who are doing the shit that you want to do. Like, it's literally that simple. It's going to increase your focus, and physiology of the nervous system is that when you are highly focused on something, it kicks in the nervous system, which actually reduces your ability to hear a lot of bullshit, and it just, right? You get the tunnel vision, you're focused in on the goal, and you don't have a lot of time for peripheral riffraff. You kind of keep your antenna up and are sensitive to it, but you're driven to go forward, okay? It gets rid of the bullshit, it gets rid of the wrong people, and when you are clear on exactly what it is that you want to do, you become the student, right? And when the student is ready, the teacher appears. That's how it works all throughout history. You are not an exception to that rule, okay? So stay on your grind. Every day is a brand new day. Go out there and freaking just kick it in the ass and do the best that you can. Mwah! I'm off to the gym. Leg day.